It's Wednesday, so you know what that means? We're live. Woke Women Wednesday. Good morning. This is Senator Dianne Wilkerson saying hello to you. Another rainy day, but rain is good, right? Rain is good, especially the kind of rain that doesn't wash your house away. And so as we think about, even think about complaining about the rain today, just remember what is happening in other parts of our country, in Puerto Rico and in Florida, where it appears that they're going to be the federal government, local cities, towns, the state of Florida, certainly in Puerto Rico, that they are still in major both recovery, search. If they're going to, I suspect they're going to find some people that have been abandoned, stranded, but they're also going to find a lot of grief and death, and recovery as well. They're still very much in recovery. Don't ever forget Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is part of us. And so thank God we don't have to watch or be concerned about a president throwing paper towels at people in need. But we have to make sure that they do throw the amount of resources there that are necessary for our brothers and sisters in Puerto Rico to be safe, survive, rebuild, the children to be able to get health care and to get back to school, people to get back to work, all of those things. So just pray. Always start and say good morning, brand new fall. And there are a few things I want to share with you today. Certainly one is we're still here. You're going to begin, I think we start next week, a whole new exciting list of guests. We're going to start our month in October, in fact, focusing on the incredible history, talent of Black art and artists that we boast from Boston. I'm excited about having, I say the Dominga family has become such an absolute rock and staple, created Originations, and now Originations is like our New York ballet, right? Everybody knows them. We're going to have them on. We also are going to be hosting the incredible photographer Lou Jones will be here with us. Echoa Holmes, our artist. I don't even think people realize how awarded she is, how accomplished she is, how acknowledged she is outside of Boston. Because, the Bible says a prophet in their own land. Nobody listens and nobody sees. But what an incredible gift. And then the last one I'll mention before I get to my conversation of today is Paul Goodnight. You probably already figured out that I'm a Paul Goodnight fan, because this is where I sit every week. When you see me on Woke Women Wednesday, you see this incredible piece of art behind me. I actually have some others you can't even see. He clearly is my favorite. And I'm excited we're going to actually have him here. But today, we're going to have him here in the next month. But today, what I want to talk to you about is this incredible celebration that is going on tomorrow evening, which is Thursday, October 6th, from 7 to 8:30 p.m. at the historic Strand Theater on Columbia Road in Dorchester. And it is called We Move in Color. And it's featuring the artwork of Paul Goodnight and the photography of Lou Jones. You can go to We Move in Color, all capital letters or all one word, WeMoveInColor.com to get your tickets, to register. But there will be dance, there's going to be poetry, there'll be immersive art, but most importantly, you get to see two of Boston's icons, Paul Goodnight and Lou Jones. You don't want to miss that. Go see that art. You can go. Please make sure you can go on the website again. I'm going to mention this at the end. I'll tell you, anytime you're coming near Woke Women Wednesday on 11 o'clock on Wednesday morning, when I'm going to be here, you should always have a pen and paper in hand, or your phone with the thumbs ready to type it in, to put it in. But because I'm always going to give you some information that you're going to want to write down before we're done in this fast moving 30 minutes. WeMoveInColor.com. WeMoveInColor.com. We Move in Color. Again, that's the name of the event on Thursday, October 6th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. at the Strand Theater in Dorchester. Now, always start with the same message. This doesn't happen by accident. Doesn't happen because I just get up in the morning and decide, oh, I want to go on the radio. I want to go on Facebook. This happens because of the wisdom of the sisters and the one brother with the vision who knew how important it was going to be for us to have a medium that we could impart information, timely information, important information in a timely fashion that impacts and affects Black people. There's always something going on that we might see, may not see, or we see it in a place where the story is not really written in the way that is impactful or important or understandable to us. But there's always a catch because there is so much going on in Boston. So thank you to the ladies. WWOCradio.com, WWOC Media. We're here every Wednesday morning from 11 to 11:30 a.m. And then on Wednesday evenings, sooner or later, you're going to begin to see my fierce and fearless warrior colleague, citywide city councilor Julia Mejia. And I know that she's still working out. They have so much going on at city council now with redistricting. And that really is going to be my talk about today. I'm going to talk a little bit about what got us here from, May in 2020. That's COVID, because it is real, right? Still very real. In fact, as of September 19th, we were at 7.5% new cases. Do you remember there was a time when we went over 4%, the city shut down? That's what was happening a year ago, 2 years ago. But now 7.5% doesn't shut us down, but it still most importantly should shake us up, because COVID is still real. People are still dying in Boston. Most of the people who are dying in Boston continue to be Black and Latino. And so that's why I'm going to keep talking about it. There are things that we can do to protect ourselves, and the decisions on what you do to protect you and yours is yours to make. I am actually taking my mom, my 87-year-old mom, to Nubian Square today, to the Bowling Building, right after this show, in fact, because she needs to get a booster. She's been one of those very fortunate seniors who have not had COVID, and I want to continue that. So I protect her. And for an illness, as you know, that has assaulted and attacked and killed so many of our precious lives and family members, especially our seniors, I'm going to do what I have to do to keep her safe. So she's getting a booster today. I say, I'm getting a booster today because I don't like to be around my mom and put her in danger. So she gets a booster. I'm getting a booster. But also continue to get tested. There's still PCR tests available from Tuesday through Saturday from 12 noon to 8 p.m., 5 days, Tuesday through Saturday at the Reggie Lewis building. Okay, at the Reggie Lewis building, first floor. You can't miss it. If you do, knock door. There's not too many places where it can be on the first floor. Get tested if you have to. Get PCR tests. If you want to just get regular tested, there's still some places you can go, but certainly not as many. But do know this: as fall comes and we're in it now, and the kids go back to school and we go back to work, and we settle back into our daily routine in our lives where we're around more people. More businesses have called their employees back into the office. I know there's been some protests, but not all. Like, their places open. There are places that never closed. We wouldn't know what to do if we couldn't expect to walk into our grocery stores, right? And to get on the trains and to go to the hospitals when needed. Go to the community, the government offices for service when we need them. And so all those people that do that and make themselves available and put themselves out there for us every day, put themselves at risk because they are dealing with a whole population of people who have very different opinions about what their obligation is to other people. But take advantage of it, right? Get tested still. And, you can still get the government testing. It's not a lot, but you can still get free test kits. You can still, our BMC, the community health centers are still doing testing as well. You may have to call, but you don't have to go to Nubian Square in the bowling building. You just go in. Again, Tuesday through Saturday, 12 to 8 p.m. You can go anytime, right? So my COVID update is actually connected to my topic for today, which is redistricting. And you might want to know, well, what is that connection? And what is redistricting? When I tell you there's so much happening in Boston right now, one of those things is the process of redistricting. Every 10 years, we talked a little bit at the end of December, I think early January this year, about redistricting because we redrew the state legislature after we did the 2020 census, got the numbers, and then used those numbers to redraw the legislative lines, where your state reps lines are, where the state senator lines are, where the congressional lines are, right? And that was done. We had an election, a primary on September 6th, and now a general election come November 8th, I think. And then the city of Boston, cities and towns all over Massachusetts, but the city of Boston right now is in that process as well. So they take the census and they divide it up into if you don't know, we have 9 city council districts. So our city of 675,000 people is divided into 9 city council districts. And then we have 4 citywide. So I mentioned Julia Mejia is one of those citywide councils, which means she represents the whole city. Ruthie Lujan represents the whole city. Mike Flaherty represents the whole city. Aaron Murphy represents the whole city. But the other councilors represent districts, the 9 districts, 9-1, 9-2, 9-3, 9-4. District 1, District 2, District 3, District 4, District 5, District 6, District 7, District 8, District 9. For your information, District 7, for the most part, is Roxbury. District 6 is Mission Hill, Brookline, some JP, Eggleston Square. District 4 is represented right now by City Councilor Brian Worrell. District 6, I just mentioned, represented by City Councilor Kendra Laura. District 7, Roxbury, right now represented by Tanya Fernandez Anderson. District 5, right now represented by City Councilor Ricardo Arroyo. That's Mattapan, some of Roslindale and Hyde Park. And there are other parts of the city, but I just want to focus on the middle of the city. Roxbury literally, if you look on a map, is the heart of the city of Boston. And for so many years, we have been blessed to have some of the most incredible representation from Roxbury. I go back to, the late Reverend Dr. Michael Haynes, who was in the legislature, the late former city council president, Roxbury District Councilor Bruce Bowling Sr., who represented Roxbury. The late Charles Chuck Turner represented Roxbury. Tito Jackson, the first Black female mayor in the city of Boston, and the capital city in Massachusetts, Kim Janey, represented Roxbury. Right now, Tanya Fernandez Anderson represents Roxbury. So I said I'm going to tell you this connection and why I think we need to pay attention. So right now, all of that history of representation and those long lists of the most esteemed representatives in our council that we have from Roxbury is at play and is at risk. Why do you say that, Diane? Here's why. Because, as I said to you, the redistricting process is one where the Boston City Council gets in a room around the table and they come up with a map, trying to draw map lines for these districts, District 1 through 9, that will divide up the 675,000 people from Boston in a way that those people who have common interests, we call it commonality of interest. Their politics are the same. Their thoughts on education, their thoughts on economic development, their thoughts on healthcare, their thought, that kind of thing. That those are shared. So you live in a community where the general feeling is the same about those issues, right? And we try, as a requirement of redistricting, to put those people together so those people together can represent can elect a representative of their choice. And I say that is important because oftentimes people think that the redistricting process is for incumbent legislators, incumbent counselors, incumbent elected officials to draw a map to protect their interests. I want a map where my house is here and I put these people around me because I like these people. I don't want those folks because I don't like those folks. Well, the Voting Rights Act, which provides the protection and direction of how the city must draw these lines, says when it comes to Black folks, you must do everything possible to make sure that you keep them together. You put them together so that they can together elect a representative of their choice. You can't split them up. You can't divide them, what they call dilute them, right? You can't dilute them. You can't crack them, putting somebody else's district in the middle of Roxbury so that we're split, right? You can't do those things. And it's important. You see, I love talking about redistricting because you all know that I spend a lot of time talking about race. People say to me, is that all you do? Yeah, pretty much. People have their own expertise. This happens to be mine. I defend, I understand it, I explain it, I can teach it, but I talk about race and the role it plays. And most of the time, we're on the defense. And by that, I mean, we're fighting to make sure that Black and brown people are involved and included and not discriminated against, not left out, and right, not silenced in every other area of our lives. But the beauty of redistricting, the beauty of drawing legislative lines, it is the one area in our life where, in fact, the constitutional protections and the Voting Rights Act says you must consider race. So, yeah, I'm happy in this space, right? No, you got to make sure that the Black folks don't get split. You got to make sure that the Latinos don't get split. Why? Why? Because at the time when the opportunity arose, that this is what that whole civil rights movement was about. It culminated in the establishment and passage of the Federal Voting Rights Act. Why? Because we were able to document in spades, if you will, historical, continued treachery, racism, division, hatred in the process that legislators all across this country used to draw legislative lines, directly and specifically designed to make sure that Black people were never in a space enough to elect a Black city councilor, right? So what we have in Roxbury, what we have in Dorchester, what we have in District 6 for Kendra Lower's district, what we have in District 5 in Ricardo Arroyo's district, 7 is Roxbury, 4 is Dorchester, is precious, hard-earned, long-fought, and must be protected. So there are now, and there's a deadline by which these lines have to be done. And guess what it is? Like 3 weeks away. November. It has to be done by November 7th. Why? Because November 7th is exactly 1 year before the next city council elections, November 2023. And the requirement by law in the city is you have to live in a city council district for 1 year before you can run for council in that district. So we have to have a district line drawn by then, right? So think about this. In the next 3 weeks, all of what I just explained to you is going to happen. And I suspect that most of you had no idea this was going on. And that is the problem. But it's also why WWOC is so important. because I get to tell you that, right? I don't, and no filter. I don't have my words don't have to be personal. I get to tell you that Boston is in the thick of redistricting, and we have several people, producing maps. There was a map that was filed before the council last week, and another map filed this week, right? And the maps that were filed, you hear my phone ringing, just ignore it. The maps that were filed, one filed by Councilor Arroyo and Fernandez, that attempts to respond to all the things that I just shared with you, right? About how we have to be protective, right? To make sure that we put Roxbury residents together with people that can allow us to continue to elect a Tanya Fernandez Anderson, right? We have to make sure we have a sufficient number of Black and Latino, white folks, even in the Dorchester, that allows us to continue to elect a Brian Worrell. And so the redistricting is not about the person, it's about the residents. So it's not about the elected official, it's about the residents, right? So if I live in Roxbury, I want to stay connected with the other residents of Roxbury, because I think that we have a whole lot of things in common about what we want to see. I'll tell you, we also have a lot of things in common about what we don't want to see. Let me give you one. All this conversation we've been having about gentrification, it got real in the context of redistricting. Why do I say that? I say it because the historical context that I just gave you about the district, city council district that has produced Bruce Bowling Sr., Chuck Turner, Mayor Kim Janey, Tito Jackson, is looking a lot different now in 2022 than it did 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Why? Just look up in the sky and you'll see. See all the cranes? You see all the cordoned off streets. You see all the construction going on. You know all that new market rate housing that they're building for $600,000 units, $700,000 units. You know all the affordable low-income rental units that they build in the community. So those are the two things: low-income affordable, high-income market. That's what we see here. It's the reason why I tell you, I absolutely support, have a reputation, long-standing, supporting affordable, the construction of affordable rental, affordable home ownership. But when you concentrate it all in one area, you create a body of vulnerable people who get tossed around, dismissed, evicted, moved, shut down, house taken over. Landlord says, I'm selling it because I'm going to build something big and new. And the big and new ain't for us. That's as simple as I can tell you. The big and new ain't for us. So what happens is the number of Black people, the number of Latino people that live in Roxbury right now is substantially less than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Forget it. We were probably 75, 80, 85% Black. You know what we are now? 34%. 23%, 25% Latino. So we're still a majority together. But you see how tenuous that number, that majority is right now? Whoever thought that that's where we would be with Roxbury? So one thing we have to do in this redistricting, I say all that to say this: the many things we need to do going forward, but the one thing we have to do in the redistricting process is to make sure that when the meeting is held, and I'm told that there's going to be a meeting on Tuesday, when that meeting is held, the community meeting, and you watch social media, watch your emails, because I'm sure there'll be an announcement. I don't think it's definite yet, but I understand there may be scheduling a meeting on Tuesday, October 11th, which is the day after the holiday, at the Bowling Building, to give this community an opportunity to look and see the map. I said there was one that was presented by Councilor Arroyo and Fernandez. There's a second one that was released on Tuesday of this week, and that was the committee map that was released by the chair of the committee, Liz Breeden. She's the city councilor from Alston Brighton. She's the chair of redistricting committee. She was appointed the chair when Ricardo Arroyo was so unceremoniously dumped and stripped of his chairmanship. And so she is the chair. Councilor Brian Worrell from Dorchester is the vice chair, but she is the chair, and her committee released a map. We know, not we think, we know that the map, I've seen it, the map that committee released needs some work because it jeopardizes the things I shared with you about what we have to do to protect Roxbury, what we have to do to protect that seat, that District 5 seat that was created in the last redistricting that allowed a Ricardo Arroyo for the first time, a person of color for the first time, to be elected representing that Mattapan, Hyde Park, Roslindale section. We have to make sure that we protect that because we can't afford to lose any. And I think the other side, and it really isn't, but I just want you to know that you may have had some opinion and feeling about whether Councilor Arroyo should have been stripped of his chairmanship. He was the chair of government ops, which really kind of decided when the scheduling for different hearings, and he was the chair of redistricting. Now, in the end, you know, all of the hoopla about what happens 15, 17 years ago turned out to be a oops, okay, yeah, actually there was a whole investigation and a decision by the police and the DA's office. There was no there. And so there was nothing. He isn't under any investigation now and never was. But he was stripped of his chairmanship. I think that there's some of us who are still waiting for the president of the council, not to even go into the details of your thinking, but to explain what the rules are in the council. Because I know that my counselor, Tanya Fernandez Anderson, is the chair of Ways and Means, very powerful committee. So could he decide tomorrow, just get up and say, you know what, I want somebody else to be the chair and just strip her of that chairmanship? We need to know and must continue to ask because it's for our own protection that we need to know. What is the process? And by the way, it's clear the process that he wasn't so hardened because I don't know if you know this or not, but turns out his removal isn't permanent. It's a suspension for 60 days, which just so happens to be the time that it's going to take to finish the redistricting. Think about that. Think about that. I digress. We're in redistricting. We need your attention to this. We have to make sure that we get protected, right? That Roxbury, as we know it, continues to be in a position to represent and to elect a representative. Dorchester as well. We already know that there is a loud chorus of opposition from some parts of Dorchester and the Ponset area, people who don't want to be moved, but you know what? That's what redistricting is. The good news, we have the Voting Rights Act on our side, and we have been making clear, and I'm so proud of the work that the NAACP, the Boston NAACP, the Urban League of Eastern Massachusetts, the New Democracy Coalition, Ward 12, Ward 14, all of those, the Cape Verdean community has been in that room, okay? Gang votes. These young people are fierce, okay? I'm so proud of them for turning up to that meeting last week because we only do redistricting every 10 years. And so 10 years from now, we don't want them to be saying, what's redistricting? So we invited them this time to sit in this room, watch, ask questions. They've been doing more than that. You didn't get the chance to see the testimony on last Thursday's hearing. You should, because they testified at the city council hearing, first time ever. Wellington, young man, recited a poem. He's an artist. His art is what he called artivism. He wrote a poem about redistricting. Absolutely fantastic. You should watch it. You can always go on the city council hearing, boston.gov, city council hearings, they're recorded, but it would be the city council hearing on redistricting, which was held on last Thursday, all right, September 29th. You should see it if you can. You should definitely see it. It gives you the whole layout, the whole story, and we have to be ready. That's really it. I know it's a lot because there's a lot happening. Things happen all the time and all around us, but there is this redistricting thing. let me tell you, this is important. We have to make sure that we're on top of this, because we could find ourselves in a position where we're sitting here in Roxbury in a district where we're in the distinct minority. It could happen. It could happen. Follow what Councilor Fernandez Anderson, Councilor Arroyo have been focused on, because our initial assessment, their focus is what's in our best interest as people of color, and that's where we have to be. And we don't have to whisper it, because the Constitution protects us. The Federal Voting Rights Act provides that they must take into account. So they can't put all the Black people in one district. I'm not saying that. We're not trying to pack one, we call packing. We're not trying to put all the Black people in one district, but we certainly have enough Black and Latinos to create 3 solid already, and we need to protect them. And if there's an opportunity for us to do more, we can create what literally is called an opportunity district. We think there may be, but right now we got to really, really make sure that there's no funny business. We have to fortify. We've got to strengthen. We've got to protect District 7. We got to protect District 4. We got to protect District 5. We got to protect District 6. We do that, then let's talk about whatever else we can add onto it. But we didn't get that majority councilor of color body or Boston City Council by accident. So just pay attention. That's all I'm going to say, right? I told you I would say it again at the end, what I said at the beginning. So make sure you had your pen out. But tomorrow evening, don't forget, October 6th, we move in color. We move in color. It's the name of the event, celebrating Black history and artistry. And Lord knows Boston has a lot to celebrate, because we have some of the best. Like I said, I'm a Paul Goodnight fanatic fan, right? And if you haven't seen the artistry, the photography of Lou Jones, shame on you, you missed it, but you have an opportunity to see it tomorrow night, right? 7 to 8:30 at the Strand Theater on Columbia Road in Dorchester. And you can get your tickets by going to wemoveincolor.com. We Move in Color, WeMoveinColor.com. We Move in Color. Get your tickets. The event is going to be absolutely fantastic. Dance, music, poetry, and art. You don't want to miss it. Don't want to miss it. I'm telling you, I'm not an exaggeration. We have some of the best. Echo Holmes, Paul Goodnight. You're going to see them, the Dabenga, the family that created Origination. You're going to get to talk with them, because we're going to have them sitting on this screen over the next month. I'm excited about it, because it's a little different, but it is all about us, and it's all about ours. Continue in places where you need to be. I actually had to fly to DC this past weekend, and I wore my mask on that plane. You best believe it. I'm not be closed up in that little cockpit time and not have it on. I wore my mask. Sure did. Continue to do that where you need to. And know it's a pain in the neck, but I'd rather have a pain in the neck than some of the other options, right? Stay safe. If you haven't, children, seniors, this is fall, which means what? We're going to be in smaller, confined settings. We're going to be inside. Protect yourself. Wear your mask if you have to. Get vaccinated. All you got to do is go to boston.gov COVID, boston.gov COVID, and they'll take you to places where you can still get vaccinated. I'm going today to Nubian Square, to the Bowling Building, to get my mom a booster shot. Make sure your children are protected, because school's back in. I know we had one school already that had to close. I know that there was a senior center that had to close in Mattapan over a weekend because of the outbreak for COVID. So it's still very real, but we're going to conquer this. We're going to do this. Everyone, stay safe. I will see you next Wednesday, 11 a.m. Welcoming Wednesday. Don't miss it. Bye-bye.